which moves on to the most interesting vehicle.
Yes. Now, for everyone watching at home, if you've ever watched Brother Alpha Abuser's If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device series, you're probably more than familiar with Fyodor Karamazov, the Inquisitor Lord of the Order Hereticus, who walks around on a giant chair. Now, this giant chair is known as the Throne of Judgment. It's based on a dreadnought chassis and is equipped with a triple-barreled multi-melter, which has two servitors as crew, one manning the gun, the other one just as a scribe, not doing anything. And there's no really obvious way of this thing actually being controlled, except...
So I found this in the Brothers Karamazov novel. Lord Fyodor Karamazov took his seat upon the throne and felt the familiar pulses in his backside, his mind linking through the seat to the rest of the throne. I took a few moments, thought about it, looked at his position on the chair, looked at his position in all the fan art I could find on the chair where he's leaning forward, and I'm like... And I had to think about it, and I'm like, is his chair being controlled through his ash?
Apparently so.
At this point, I kind of had to put the novel down and could not finish it. I will not go back and finish it. But I was just, what is going on here? It's possible. I mean, if so long as you had like an implant or something to hook up to the machine, you could control it.
Sorry.
I'm just really hoping that you're not controlling the machine through an anal insert or suppository.
Well, you did say it was an implant.
Or maybe by his backside he means the back of his head where all of that cybernetic stuff is anyway, and maybe...
But the thing is, on the model, he's there's no cabling or anything like that.
I know.
To his head.
I know, and the only assumption I can make is either he's controlling it through, and I thought, maybe he's controlling it through his feet. Maybe it's through his feet, and then there are pictures of him with his feet up, and I'm like, oh god. Please let this be no. Please let this be psychic energy and not what my conclusions lead me to believe.
Oh, Theodore, you really are crazy pants off.
As far as practicality of actually using this in battle, no. Just flat out. You might have void shields. Okay, fair enough. As soon as those collapse, you're dead.
Thing is, based on the dreadnought chassis. It hasn't even got the proper, legs that's suited for urban warfare.
Do not use this in battle, Theodore. You will die. Fyodor, you will die, and we will all laugh at you, because there's no armor anywhere, like at all, even for the servitors, who are controlling the gun of all things. The servitor who's the scribe literally is just sitting there scribing every word he says, which I guess makes him really impractical. But basically,
maybe he's a counterweight.
I'm really hoping that that triple barrel multi-melta is strictly there just for when he does executions and he never actually goes onto the battlefield himself. And then I see pictures of his model, and I touched his model physically, and I'm like, and I actually asked the staff, are there actual rules for this? And they showed them to me, and I went, oh dear God, why?
Walk me closer, I want to hit them with my sword.
And I'm just imagining that as soon as the shields are down, I'm like, you're dead. You're just dead. Like, a Devastator, a Chaos Devastator Marine squad with plasma cannons will kill you in one volley.
A grot walking up to you with a stub pistol would kill him in one shot if it got close enough.
That's the other thing, is if he actually does get into melee combat, the void shields are useless. And they're just going to climb up on there and stab him to death. A squad of snotlings is going to kill him. A squad of Gretchens are going to kill him. A squad of Eldar are going to murder him. Anything that gets close enough to him to actually get him melee, he dies.
A Ripper Swarm will eat him.
Ripper Swarm will eat him. A squad of Gaunts will make him into dinner. There's just a list. I'm just thinking.
A bunch of demonettes will rape him.
Oh dear God, that would be. I don't think that's possible because I think the throne's been doing it to him the whole time. I know we're poking fun here, but seriously, this is not a weapon I would ever recommend on anybody.
However, if our theories on how he controls it are true, then Slaanesh approves. So, moving on, the Grey Knights, they use a lot of the same vehicles that other Space Marine chapters use, and a lot of them we've covered already, so we're going to go to one we haven't actually covered before, which is the Razorback. Now, the Razorback is again, like pretty much every other vehicle we covered today, based on the Rhino chassis, except it's got reduced transport capability in favour of adding a turret with additional heavy weaponry, such as a twin-linked heavy bolter, a twin-linked heavy flamer, there's a lot of twin-linked weapons, assault cannon, las cannon, multi-bolters, or combination las cannon with a twin-linked plasma gun. Now, it only has about half the transport capacity as a Rhino, but it makes up for this, in theory, with the additional heavy weaponry acting as suppressing fire for the troops inside.
So the Imperium finally got the idea that maybe infantry fighting vehicles were a good idea. And they went from halfway between to an actual infantry fighting vehicle. This is the type of regular everyday transport that's not a Land Raider that pulls up, drops off a squad of very angry Space Marines or very angry Sisters of Battle or very angry Inquisitors or what have you, and then stays and can actually do some real damage on its own. In real life, during the Gulf Wars, the M2 Bradley has almost 3 times the number of enemy armor kills as the M1 Abrams. Not because we took so many more Bradleys, but because that's how they work. Infantry fighting vehicles are legitimately lethal to armored vehicles, and this one is no exception. It's legitimately lethal to armored vehicles. Yeah, you cut your transport capacity in half. So what? You actually have a vehicle that once it arrives, it is as much a threat as the guys it's dropping off. That's what you want. We went back to the 2 driver slits for 1 person deal again. There is no gunner for this. There is strictly a servitor that controls the guns. Very good servitor. Or a guy inside, actually, as it turns out, can take control directly, according to the novels. So when you're being transported in this, you can actually directly take control of the guns over the servitor and driver. The driver also can assert some control over the guns if he so chooses to multitask between driving and shooting. Cool idea. Wish the Eldar had come up with it. The defects of this thing come with the defects of having rear-mounted weapons. Gun depression sucks. The gun will not point down. As a matter of fact, the 5-degree gun depression will not shoot anything that's within 10 meters of the vehicle. So if your target is 10 meters or closer, your weapon is pretty useless. Unless you can get into a position where you are pointing angled down on a downhill slope and can then use the 45 degrees of elevation as your gun depression instead. It's really fast. They said, you know what, we're not going to slow the Rhino down. This is the closest thing we have actually seen the Imperium to making that actually obeys a lot of the laws of modern combat doctrine. Speed? Check. Stealth? Yeah, it's pretty freaking stealthy because you just took a Rhino chassis and put a gun on top of it and didn't actually make it any bigger or brighter or more obvious. Armor? It's got nice sloping on the front. It's got the option to add extra layers of armor, and firepower. It came with a big gun.
2 technically.
2, yeah, all of them are twin linked, but basically it has a nice big slap in the face. Plus, you can add the Dozer Blade, which will give you more armor against incoming heat, rounds, and let you clear through obstacles. You can give it a Storm Bolter, nice idea. You can give it Hunter Killer Missiles, nice idea. And it automatically comes with smoke grenade launchers, something that all modern vehicles come with, that apparently the people in the Warhammer 40k universe didn't think, what's that common thing that the people in the 21st century decided was a good idea? Oh, right, smoke. But yeah, this is The only complaint I have is why do you have the commander's cupola and 2 vision ports? You only really need one of those 3 things. So you could reduce the number of weak points on this vehicle significantly if you just picked which one of them you actually wanted to use.
But aside from that, pretty solid vehicle.
Yeah, it's actually really solid.
So we go from solid to just stupid. We're going on to the Dread Knight, which is, quite frankly, I just want to say now, to get out of the way, it looks fucking retarded. It looks like someone with a baby carrier. You know.
I'm trying to be unbiased as possible. But what the fuck were you thinking?
It looks like they tried to take the loader exosuit from Aliens and add like a big sword.
So, let's begin with engineering principles. When you design a walker, it should be able to support its own arms, not require an exoskeleton on your exoskeleton so it can move its arms. And not only that, but those 2 big pistons coming out of the back of it that attach to the elbows are really freaking obvious weak points. I'm assuming that if that breaks, that arm is almost completely useless. If I'm wrong, fair enough, but what's the point in having an exoskeleton on your exoskeleton? I thought the point of the exoskeleton was to make someone stronger and more capable. Next thing, all of your joints, every single one of them, are horrifically exposed. Except for the elbows. I can even see the shoulder joint.
Oh, God.
The shoulder joint is halfway out of the shoulder socket. Why would you do this? You should put it the rest of the way in and let it move on its own. That's kind of how humans are designed. We're not designed with 2 joints between our shoulder and our elbow. The next thing, the driver. Did these drivers willingly crawl into a penitent engine?
Apparently it's a great honour. To everyone else, though, fucking Matt Ward.
Right. So I'm gonna put this as delicately as I possibly can. That is a suicidal position. Yes, you have your personal armor. Fair enough. However, you in no way, shape, or form can defend yourself against small enemies swarming you. You in no way, shape, or form can defend yourself against people who are not in this thing swarming you. Because they're going to hack your legs off. They're going to hack your arms off. They're going to hack your face off because that's pretty exposed too. But let's move on. It's weaponry.
Before you go into weaponry, I just want to point out, it does come equipped with a personal teleporter, so at least it has some form of maneuverability. Albeit not that much.
I'm going to point out that teleporters in the Warhammer 40k universe are renowned for anyone who's holding on to the person being teleported with them.
Yeah, that is true. So, moving on to its weapons, it comes with 2 Nemesis Doomfists as a default, but can be replaced to either a Nemesis Greatsword or a Nemesis Demon Hammer. Now, Nemesis weapons, for those who don't know, are essentially psychically charged power weapons. They're mainly designed for fighting demons, which are entities composed entirely of psychic energy. For ranged weapons, it can take a heavy incinerator, a Gatling silencer, or a heavy psi cannon. Now, psi cannons essentially are the same as bolters, but just with ammunition which is inscribed with negative warp energy, again for dealing with demonic targets. So essentially it has a heavy psi cannon is essentially a heavy bolter, for lack of a better term.
So I'm going to point this out first and foremost. The Dreadnought, which is half as tall as you and significantly smaller, carries more firepower. Just flat out.
Yeah, because at least with the Dreadnought, at least with our close combat weapons, they've got another gun on their power fist or lightning claws.
On top of this, the Dreadnought has armor, but that's not the point. On top of this, the Dreadnought's weapons are more universal and much more capable of engaging different targets. But we can move on past that, because I understand the Grey Knights are strictly designed to fight demons. Fine. Fair enough. If you didn't plan to fight anything else, okay. Why would you put a plasma reactor on this that's completely exposed on the back? And with absolutely no way for the person looking forward to see behind them. Plasma reactors in the Imperium, just like all plasma weapons, are renowned for one thing when things go wrong: going boom. Literally, this is a suicide vehicle. Great honor? Fine. Great honor as in I bring much honor via kamikaze wind? I see that coming right into their faces. I tried my best to try to figure out how this could be useful or redeem. There is no redeeming quality in any way, shape, or form about this design. And people can hate on me for that all they want. There is zero. The armor is in places you don't actually need armor, and the places where there's no armor are the places you really need armor. The pilot is inhibited both in his field of vision because he can't. The shackles holding him in block his peripheral vision. He can't see beside him. He can only see what's in front of him. And even then, I measured this out. He has a 120-degree arc of vision. That's it.
Wow.
That is his entire vision arc. He can't see anything outside of that. Unless he actually can move roughly a half a foot forward in his seat, which if he can move in that seat, that's a really bad idea, because that means every time this thing gets hit, he's going to get a concussion from his head bouncing off the back of it, or he's going to get whiplash from his head getting slung forward. He can't see anything. He can't see to fight. And if you only have 120 degrees of vision, you can't see to fight in melee especially.
Considering this thing's meant to go toe-to-toe with things like bloodthirsters, yeah, no.
It's going to get one good whack on the guy in front of it, and then the guy who's just outside of his field of vision is going to start ripping it apart.
Pretty much.
I'm sorry. If you wanted to improve this design, put the pilot in an actual cockpit or a sarcophagus like a dreadnought. Even if he's still alive, it would serve him better to be in that type of situation than what you have here. Oh, and by the way, as far as armor sloping goes, the armor is basically flat. It has some areas where it's concave in certain places or slightly rounded, but for the most part, when I actually measure the direction it's facing versus the direction versus where it is on the unit, it is flat armor all over the place.
Oh dear. So again, fucking Matt Ward. But anyway, out of these walkers we looked at today, from worst to best, rank them.
Penitent Engine is actually the better one because it injects its... While the driver's completely exposed, the driver's being continuously injected with drugs and everything else to keep them alive. Oddly enough, I hate to say it, Karamazov's throne is actually better than the Dread Knight because Karamazov's throne... I'm going to tell you why now. Karamazov's throne has Void Shield, and Karamazov's throne is faster than the Dread Knight.
What? How is that being faster? The old man with the butt plug chair, which is just basically a dreadnought with a chair attached to it, is faster than, because you'd think at the very least, with the dreadnought's size, with how long its legs are, it should be able to go fast just from the longer steps it takes.
According to the specs I have, according to the game rules, Karamazov is faster than a Dread Knight.
Jesus Christ.
And the Dread Knight ranks at the bottom because it lacks any personal protection for the pilot beyond their personal armor. And, oddly enough, has some of the worst weapon choices for the sheer size it encompasses. Not to mention the fact that apparently orcs loot them.
Yeah.
I have several pictures here, both from the internet and from the store, of looted Dread Knights. Which the orcs did a better job of arming these things.
Oh dear. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, here's another reason to hate Matt Ward. He can't even do a fucking walker right. The Grey Knights, especially the best of the Space Marines, they're meant to be the best chapter. You know,
Nope.
because they're like meant to be like have even better gene seed and better training, etc. And they have a walker that is blind, can't even lift its arms without having an exoskeleton attached to it.
And is vastly underpowered in the weapons department as well as the protection department. Not to mention, it's apparently very slow.
And it also looks pants on head retarded.
I thought Kazimazov's throne was bad, and then I started looking at the Dread Knight and started looking at the stats and everything, and I'm like, what just happened here? Did somebody have a brain fart? And then I got this image, and for Remleiz's purposes, the image is the Dread Knight Voltron.
Yes.
And I thought about it, and went, I'm waiting on Matt Ward to pull this off. I'm waiting on it now.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So, yeah. So, the Ecclesiarchy or the Inquisition, who actually had better vehicles today out of these two?
The Ecclesiarchy. The Ecclesiarchy's combination of the Repressor, the fact that both of them use the Razorback, the fact that Ecclesiarchy's Penitent engine, while it offers no protection to the driver, actually gives the driver so much drugs that it's the equivalent of being hopped up on speed, meth, and crack at the same time.
So at least they have a fighting chance, albeit not much of one, but they still have
I mean, they're
chance.
going to die after the battle, obviously, because they're going to be full of bullet holes, but they'll kill a few things in the process. I think the Penitent engine is more of a case of we can recover the Penitent engine and just, drop the body on the battlefield where it falls.
And at least with Theodore's Throne of Judgment, at least I can imagine it having a practical use if he's like in a cathedral somewhere, he just, conducting a sermon, stomping around, anyone's a sinner, blam. So it has like a use within society.
It also has a use as sheer intimidation. This is a one-of-a-kind vehicle. It shows up, you know what's here. The Penitent engine, I actually... You referred to it as a baby carriage. I actually saw that the orcs refer to it as the Space Knight baby carriage.
The Dread Knight, you mean?
The Dread Knight is referred to by the orcs as the Space Knight's baby carriage. And I just went, wow. Even the orcs make fun of it.
Well, let's be honest. If the orcs are taking the piss of how the way you look, you done fucked up. I know I keep ripping on this thing for the way it looks, but I mean, just look at it. It doesn't. I mean, as far as even as aesthetics go, it doesn't even look like it belongs in the same.
It doesn't have. It doesn't have.
Aesthetic.
I mean, if I take off the purity seals and the insignias that are on it, it does not have the same aesthetic as the Imperial weapons. It looks completely out of place.
I can just imagine like the Dreadnought walks onto someone's model collection and is like, "Hey guys, is this a show for War Machine?" It's like, yeah.
So I'll let the comment section decide this. Do you guys think the Dread Knight's a practical weapon and we're being too harsh on it? Let us know. I honestly don't mind if you've got a point here.
Yes. So, out of all the races now, how do the Ecclesiarchy and Inquisition rank up against the other races we covered? Let's include both these as one entry, just for fairness sake.
Okay. In the meantime, what do you guys want to see next? We're down to Walkers, Tyranids, and I believe one more.
Chaos.
Chaos. I'm thinking it's going to be Chaos or Nids. And if it's
Yeah.
Nids, I've got a couple of biology books back here I'm going to have to pick apart.
Yes. So please vote Chaos, because we haven't given the bad guys any love recently. We've done the holy guys. Let's give the demons a shot, shall we, ladies and gentlemen?
Let's
shall.
In the meantime, guys, this is Fiaura. I'm going to be signing out for right now.
And this is Remleiz from 40K Theories, and we'll see you all again.